Hey, welcome back to Not So Complicated, and today we'll be talking about Circle of Willis, its formation and branches in details. Alright, so let's begin without further delay. So Circle of Willis is actually also called a circulus arteriosus. It is an anastomotic arterial ring located at the base of the brain, and it supplies blood, right? So blood and nutrients to the brain regions, and this is one of the main vital part of the cerebrovascular system. All right, so the structure, it provides a connection between the four main arteries that supply the brain, and these are two vertebral arteries and two internal carotid arteries, right? So this is the figure right here, and we have to learn to draw this and remember all the branches right here. All right, so how to draw and remember this? Follow me now. Take a blank page and grab a pen. All right, so now you can see here, this is a representative photo right here, and you have to visualize Circle of Willis just like this, like a hangman right here. All right, so keep it in mind. So let's begin. So you have to make a leg first, another leg, and then the body right here, and another hand, and the hand again. So this is the figure here, and this you have to do, and then again draw like this and draw like this. All right, so how do you make the head? You have to make a circle right there, right? So you have to make a connection like that, and then this and this. All right, so this is just like a hangman. Now let's level it. So how does actually it forms is that there is this vertebral artery, there are right vertebral artery and left vertebral artery, right? So they combine to form a single artery, that is basilar artery, and that will then bifurcate into two different branches of the arteries that are called posterior cerebral arteries, and then middle cerebral arteries in that, and then anterior cerebral arteries. So in cerebral arteries we have three arteries, right? So anterior, middle, and posterior cerebral arteries, and we know that there will be communicating arteries, and out of them there are two communicating arteries, anterior and posterior. In the figure you can see there is anterior cerebral arteries. So anterior communicating branch will be right there in the anterior cerebral region. All right, so posterior communicating arteries are these posterior communicating arteries. All right, so this is the structural framework of Circle of Willis, and this is when we try to draw the branches and level it. All right, so let's begin. So what actually happens, what is between the legs? We all know what is there, right? So we have to make that two branches arising from two different vertebral arteries combining to form this structure, and this is called anterior spinal artery. All right, so this is one of the branch, and there will be two different branches in these vertebral arteries outside the legs also. So these are posterior inferior cerebellar arteries. Now remember that there will be superior cerebellar arteries and inferior cerebellar arteries, and inferior cerebellar arteries there will be anterior and posterior to each of them. All right, so let's talk about that. This is the posterior inferior cerebellar artery, right? So this right here is the anterior inferior cerebellar arteries, right? So these two make inferior cerebellar arteries. So there will be superior cerebellar arteries also. We'll be talking about that later. So this branch right here from anterior inferior cerebellar artery will arise, and that is labyrinthine. It supplies the part of a brain. All right, so this right here is the superior cerebellar arteries, because it is in the top of the figure. It is superior cerebellar arteries, you can remember like that. And between these two figures, between these two different arteries, there will be different branches like this. All right, so these are in pair in the opposite sides, and these are pontine arteries. Pontine arteries are the arteries that supply blood to the pons virally. All right, so that is how you remember it. Let's do some makeup to our face right here. Let's add some sticks in there, and these are posteromedial central arteries. All right, so that is in the lower part, and there will be something in the upper part also like this, and there are three different sticks, three different branches there. So that are the branches of anterior communicating artery, and these are called anteromedial central because they are anterior like these are the branches of anterior communicating artery, so that is why anteromedial central. You can notice the pattern here is that anything that is in the upper part of the body or hangman is anterior, and anything that is in the lower part is actually in the posterior portion, except that of the anterior inferior cerebellar, and then posterior inferior cerebral, and then anterior spinal artery. All right, so that is the makeup. Let's do some thing more about that. All right, so this is the branch here in the both sides, and these are anterior choroidal arteries, and this branch here is about the ophthalmic arteries. So that is how we complete our circle of Willis. All right, so this is the circle of Willis, and this is how you draw it. Now if you have followed me from the beginning of the video, you might know all of this process. All right, so let's talk about the clinical significance or the clinical anatomy of the circle of Willis right here. So this is the aneurysm. So any aneurysm presenting in circle of Willis is called berry aneurysm or saccular aneurysm. It is not that there will be exclusively saccular aneurysm in the circle of Willis, but the most common presentation of the aneurysm is like that. All right, so the berry aneurysm usually arise in the in the branches, in the bifurcation points. All right, so the most common site is in the anterior communicating artery, which is about 40%, followed by middle cerebral artery aneurysm, that is about 34%, and posterior communicating artery aneurysm, and basilar deep aneurysm. All right, so that is how aneurysms present themselves. So aneurysm is actually a ballooning or bulging of a blood vessel wall, and a ruptured aneurysm can cause an extremely severe headache, vision problems, sensitivity to light, and a stiff neck. All right, so these are the manifestations of the aneurysms, and these aneurysms actually present with symptoms only if they are ruptured, and there will be little to no symptoms unless the aneurysm is very large, that will cause the compression effects in the brain regions. All right, so that is how it happens, and this is the very important clinical anatomy or clinical portion or significance of circle of Willis, and that is how we wrap this session up. And subscribe for more, and thank you for staying with me, and if you have any doubts, comment it down please. Thank you.